I don't know if he's already had to do press here and talk about his Ferrero situation a little bit, which is obviously going to be maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Or
They gave him a contract he had to answer in 48 hours. That's not some anonymous leak. That's Toni Nadal, Rafael Nadal's uncle, the coach who built one of the greatest careers tennis has ever seen, speaking to Clay magazine last December about Carlos Alcaraz, about the coach who'd just been shown the door. 48 hours. After 7 years together, after 6 Grand Slam titles. Tony's word for the rush? Strange. Now here's what Carlos Alcaraz told the world. It was mutual, a decision the two of them made together. And here's what Juan Carlos Ferrero posted that same week. I wish I could have continued. Read those 2 lines back to back. They don't fit. One of them is carrying a lot of weight it shouldn't have to. Because somebody ended this, somebody handed a 48-hour ultimatum to the man who took a skinny kid from a tiny town in Murcia and turned him into the #1 player alive. And almost nobody who actually knows this family believes that somebody was Carlos. So who was it? That question splits in 2. The first half, everyone's been screaming about the father, the money, the academy. We'll get to every piece of it. On the record, names attached. The second half, nobody will go near it. Where was his mother in all this? Virginia. The one who worked a job at IKEA while her husband ran the tennis operation. The one who's never sat for a single interview about any of it. Not a word. The whole sport went to war over this story, and she stayed completely silent. That silence is the part that should get under your skin. And look, you've seen the other videos, the ones that swear they know exactly what she said behind that door, what she whispered, what she begged for. I'm not doing that, there's no record of it, and I'm not putting invented words in a woman's mouth to sell you a thumbnail. What you're getting instead is everything that's actually documented. And honestly, it's stranger than the made-up version. Because Toni Nadal said one more thing. Something that cuts clean against the story everyone's telling. Let's go back to that December. I go back to mid-December 2025. The contract that covered the best season of Carlos Alcaraz's life had lapsed. And 2025 wasn't a down year you walk away from. It was the peak. 8 titles, 71 wins, the year-end #1. You don't fire the architect after the best season of the build, unless something underneath the wins had already cracked. Then the new offer came, and with it, a deadline. 48 hours. That's the window Ferrero got. 48 hours to read it, weigh 7 years of his life, and sign. He didn't. He pushed back, asked for different terms, waited. Nothing came back, no counter to the counter, no real conversation. The window shut. On December 16th, Ferrero posted his goodbye. The next day, Carlos posted his. That's the timeline Toni Nadal heard too, and it stopped him cold. He said it was strange to rush a man into a decision like that after a 7-year relationship. Coming from the guy who spent 2 decades inside the most famous coaching partnership in Spanish tennis history, that's not a throwaway line. Now, the part of what Nadal said that everybody skipped past, he didn't take the easy side. He didn't paint Carlos as some innocent bystander. His line was that nothing gets done in that camp without Carlos's approval. Of course, the player signed off. He's the player. But here's the twist. Nadal also made clear he didn't think it was Carlos's decision to make. Both things at once. The player approved it, the player didn't drive it. So who drove it? Nadal pointed straight at the obvious place. As Carlos turned into a global figure, he said, the family wanted control of an operation with a lot at stake. Parents, inner circle, everybody with money riding on the machine. And the men who've actually coached Carlos? They got specific. Carlos Santos trained him from age 5 to 12, 8 years. When Santos watched Ferrero get pushed out, he recognized it instantly, because the same thing had happened to him. He told Eurosport, flatly, that Carlos's father is the one who's really in charge. Carlitos, he said, had nothing to do with it. Santos had wanted certain conditions once too. The father didn't agree. 8 years ended. He added one quiet, bitter note. At least Ferrero got kind words on the way out. Santos never did. If a pattern this clean is new to you, if you want the off-court stories the big channels won't run because they can't source them, subscribe right now. Because from here, it gets personal. 2 coaches, 8 years, then 7. Same ending. Same hand on the door. But money and control don't explain all of it. Sports Illustrated's John Wertheim reported a deeper layer. Ferrero's old-school, hardline approach to commitment had started colliding with the commercial empire forming around Carlos. Ferrero ran a strict shop. The Alcaraz operation was getting bigger and looser and more lucrative every month. Something had to give. Even Patrick Mouratoglou, Serena Williams' longtime coach, looked at it and reached for the bluntest comparison there is. He called Alcaraz and Ferrero a married couple that simply hit the point where combining everything got too hard. Then there's Ferrero himself. This is where the cost stops being a theory. He sat down with Marca at his academy in Villena, the same courts where he'd built a 15-year-old into a champion. He said he was hurting, that he'd poured his soul into the project. He said he needed 2 or 3 months just to breathe, and he admitted the hardest part. Watching Carlos play now, winning, dominating, finishing the career Grand Slam in Melbourne without him, brings him sadness, not pride. You want the detail that says it all? At Indian Wells, asked about the team without Ferrero in it, Carlos described it as basically the same group, just missing one member. One member. That member built him from a kid into the best player on the planet, reduced to a roster note. Which brings us back to the one person in this entire story who never said anything at all. Nadal said the parents, plural. And the father's fingerprints are all over the on-record version. Santos, the timeline, the disagreements Clay reported, with a source close to the camp. But the parents includes Virginia. And Virginia Garcia Escandon has not said one public word about any of this. Here's who she is. She worked as a shop assistant at IKEA while raising 4 boys. She's the one Carlos credits with keeping him grounded. The cooking, the pour tea mama he once wrote on the camera lens, the humility under the fire. By every account, she's the heart of that household. And she's the one who deliberately stays out of the spotlight. So when the most important professional relationship of her son's life got ended in 48 hours, did she have a view? Did she say something to anyone inside that house? We don't know. Nobody does. Nobody's reported it. And that right there is the whole point. That blank space is exactly where other people start making things up. They'll tell you she begged, they'll quote her word for word, they'll stage a private scene behind a closed door and sell it to you as a bombshell. There's no source for any of it. Putting invented words in a quiet woman's mouth isn't a reveal. It's fan fiction with a real person's name stapled to it. The honest answer to "what did his mother say" is the uncomfortable one. Silence. Total, deliberate silence. From the one person who might understand this family better than anyone, and is the least likely to ever say a word about it. So, mutual or pushed? Here's where the evidence actually sits. Alcaraz called it a shared decision. Ferrero said he'd have stayed. His first coach says the father runs the room. Toni Nadal says nothing happens without Carlos's sign-off, and that it still wasn't really Carlos's call. The contract got handed over with a 48-hour fuse. 7 years ended in 2 days. Line all that up, and the official story gets very hard to believe. But hard to believe isn't proven. That's the line we don't cross. We don't know the exact words spoken in that house. We don't know what the father demanded, what the agents pushed for, or whether Virginia ever said a thing. Anyone who claims they do is selling you something. What we know is the shape of it. A coach who built a champion, shown the door at the very top of the mountain. A player giving bloodless answers about missing one member. A mother who said nothing and probably never will. Now here's what I want from you. Don't tell me the father did it. That's the easy take. Make the hard one. Build me the best, most honest case that Carlos genuinely wanted Ferrero gone. That this was the player's call, start to finish. Real arguments only. Best one gets pinned to the top. Because if you can't make that case stick, that tells you something too. Subscribe for the next one. We're pulling the thread on the new man in the chair, Samuel Lopez, and whether he can hold what Ferrero held when the pressure really comes. The trophies will keep coming. The question is what got left behind to win them.